The next guest on my podcast is someone who doesn't need much introduction because her surname is one of the most household names in the region, and she's from a family business which is really one of my favourite businesses in the Southwest, and she is Eleanor Thatcher from Thatchers Cider. I'm really excited to talk about what they've been doing, their culture of innovation, and how they keep getting better and better as a business and a real stalwart of the local region. Eleanor, thanks very much for joining us. It's a real pleasure to have you on the podcast.
No, thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward to having a chat to you.
Brilliant. Do you want to start off by just telling us a little bit about kind of the Thatchers evolution? I mean, you've literally grown up surrounded by Thatchers. That's really cool to me to like grow up on a cider farm, and there's something really idyllic about that. Do you want to tell us a little bit about kind of how that's been, kind of how things have changed over the years and what you've kind of seen evolve?
Yeah, so I think it would be good to kind of like go back and talk about the previous generations of my family, because I'm now the 5th generation cider maker at Myrtle Farm and very proud of that. But we started in 1904, and at that time we were a mixed farm. So we had cattle, we had vegetables, and we made some cider. And back then we used our cider to pay our workers, and if you made good cider, you attracted good workers. So that's quite a nice story. So over time, so my grandfather took over, John, and he really had a passion for orchards and developed a new style of growing orchards to get better quality and better yields for our apples. And then my father took over and was really growing the business into more retail outlets, as well as abroad, which is really exciting. And for me, I've kind of grown up around the business, so it's part of who I am. I absolutely love making cider. This time of year is a really amazing time of year because we're actually in harvest. So we started yesterday harvesting all our Katie apples, which will go into our Katie cider. So it's always the best time of year for me. I love it. You can smell the apples and you can see all the loads coming in.
And that Katie orchard's right on the strawberry line, isn't it? Because I've sort of cycled along there and seen all the trees. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, it's great where we are. And that's a farm, we're completely surrounded by orchards. So we've got 500 acres now with lots of different varieties. And for us, it's about continuing to innovate. And part of that is in apples, part of that is in cider making, and part of that, of course, is in our technology and our people. So
yeah, and the site over those years, or over the years that you've seen, has grown quite a lot, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has changed quite a lot. But I think what's really important to us is that we've very much stayed true to our values. And as we have grown as a business, but being in Somerset, just outside Bristol, is really important to us. Quality, sustainability and family is still very much at the heart of what we do. So in that sense, yes, a lot of has changed, but the values haven't for us.
A lot of things stay the same too.
Yeah.
And you personally, along that journey, you've I love the fact that your job title is Cider Maker, and that sort of is a massive understatement what you do. You've kind of seen a lot of the business in quite a lot of depth and detail, haven't you? Do you want to kind of talk through a little bit about your journey kind of through the business?
Yeah, I think I've had a really different journey. I left school and then started working on our harvest, so harvesting all the apples, processing them. And then moved into cider making as the core of what I did, and then absolutely love that. People have to drag me away from cider making because I could spend all my time doing that, but people keep telling me, you do know you have to learn the rest of the business. So then I've kind of worked around all the other different areas of the business, and I really kind of started from the bottom. So I've learned like all the jobs from the ground up. And now I'm kind of taking on a more managerial role in those departments, which is really exciting. But I think for me, I've been really lucky because I've been able to learn from some really amazing people in our business that without them, I wouldn't be. as knowledgeable as I am now. So I think it's down to them as well.
Yeah, no, it's amazing to like get that depth of experience across such a broad business, because it is quite a big business now, and now you're in charge of the IT function, which is how well we met. And that's quite a big stretch from picking apples, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it was. So yeah, I picked up IT late last year, along with cider making, and I do a lot around sustainability. And that was really interesting for me because I don't have a technical background. I can't code. I don't understand servers in depth. But what I kind of realised, it was about your people and really getting a structure and plan in place for the year around what we needed to do. And I think that's really helped us. Without good people, you're nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's something that actually a lot of people in technical managerial roles like discover really late. It's actually it's about the people and the processes and kind of what you put around you, which are not particularly tech specific. You don't necessarily need to know all the ins and outs of you know how code works in servers, and that actually comes as a bit of a shock to a lot of people who grow up through technology, and that's kind of their way in. I suppose maybe you kind of got a more natural landing into the role coming from other areas potentially.
Yeah, I think although I am trying to learn more, I think I'm trying to learn from the people around me and talking to people about technology and what's out there. But it moves so quickly as well that trying to keep up to date with everything is important, but it is difficult, particularly when you're looking at multiple areas, because in our business I look after infrastructure and the business system side, so I've got ERP as well as all of the infrastructure behind that. So it goes quite broad, and I think what I found really interesting, and I think people probably don't get this perception with IT, is it touches every part of your business. It's so critical to what you do, and most of the time it's fine and you don't have any problems, but you realise when you do have problems really what impact that has. So I think it's a much more interesting space than often people realise, because now I'm literally working with all areas of our business all the time, and it's great. You get a real insight into the detail of processes that are happening.
Yeah, I think one of the curses of technology is that you only really get noticed when things go wrong.
Yeah.
The best that you can hope for is that no one's calling you some of the time. Which is it's quite different to kind of other areas of the business.
Yeah, but it's been super interesting. I think for me it was about building relationships with people, other departments, because I think they probably don't always understand what you're trying to do, so talking to them more often has kind of helped.
It's a good way to kind of see how everything's connected, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
And one of the things that sort of ties in with the Thatchers ethos and IT quite nicely is the culture of innovation you've got at Thatchers, which is really strong from what I've observed, both in the product side as well as the technology side. Do you want to talk a little bit through kind of how that sort of culture of innovation is kind of fostered and maintained and grown? Because we've seen loads of innovations come out, both in the products and then your dark warehouse, fully automated warehouse is amazing. I was really impressed by that. But also there's been loads of new products come out over the last few years.
Yeah, I think for us, if you're standing still, you're going backwards. And so we're constantly looking at the next thing. And I think that's driven by multiple people in our business in multiple different areas that really kind of understand that. And it's how we've grown as a business, and those people have grown with us as well. And so they completely understand that culture. And we have 7 principles that everyone gets a card when they start with those on. And that really helps drive that culture, and I think as a family as well, we try and spend a lot of time with our teams and actually get out and see what's going on and show people what we're trying to achieve. So yeah, it's challenging to keep up and keep innovative, but we've launched Juicy Apple this year, which is aiming to hit a younger audience. It's a very different cider to anything we've ever done before. Very appley, very light, 4%. And that kind of came out of, actually, we really need to show people what cider is about, and show some new people what cider is about, because I think sometimes there's a perception of cider from years and years ago, and it really isn't like that anymore. So it's a really easy drinking cider, and we've also expanded into new marketing channels with that as well, which is really exciting. So yeah, I think we've done a lot of innovation with MPD, but there's also innovation, like you said, in the warehouse, on site. So we've got the first in the UK, I believe, fully automated warehouse. So that's connected to production lines. So our canning and kegging line is directly connected to our warehouse through a line management system, and then our warehouse is connected to our ERP. So orders come in, it goes to the warehouse, the warehouse then brings them out, it's loaded to a lorry, and all the raw materials go in there as well, and all the finished products. So it's been a massive project. It's the biggest project we've ever done, but it's gone really well.
It's quite astounding, because like literally no human touches it until like literally the last point when it's put on a lorry, like all the way from when it's being made. I think it's quite incredible. Yeah, I think it's changed a lot of what we do, but for us it's about making sure our customers have the same great experience. So it's really important when we put it in that nothing affected our customers, and it hasn't. But yeah, it's very, very clever, and overnight it will also move stock around, so it's in the right places in the morning, because what you don't want is all of your stock for one day in one aisle, because if that aisle goes down, you can't get your stock out to the customers. So it does a lot of moving overnight, and there's a really cool fact. It's got 32 carts on it, which is the same amount as trains as Thomas the Tank Engine, I believe. Ah. Someone told me that the other day. Yeah, very random, but yeah. So cool. No, it's really cool. And what's the kind of what's the process that you go through at Thatchers to decide like if an innovation is worth doing? How do you prioritize and decide what the next big project is?
Oh, that's really tricky. I think it kind of varies from time to time and what's happening. It's what we like and what we think makes a great cider. For us, everything is about quality, so it's all about making a quality product and making sure that our customers love it. That's kind of how it works.
It obviously kind of derives from some really core passion that kind of sits in the business. Who's the kind of who's the figurehead of that passion? Is it Martin, your dad, or kind of does it come from all over the place? Or
it comes from all over the place, and I think probably with any company you have lots of crazy ideas that never make it to shelf. Mm-hmm. But that's we've got a tasting panel, so every Friday at 12:30 we'll taste our cider that we've made that week, and we'll also then look at MPD as well.
That sounds like the dream job.
Yeah, although I always say to people, it is, but tasting when you're doing it properly does get tiring, because you're really concentrating. But anyway, it's not bad.
There's got to be worse jobs. Yeah. So Thatchers is also quite at the forefront of sustainable farming, and I think regen farming is kind of one of the sort of names for it. Do you want us to tell us a little bit about that and kind of why Thatchers got into it and what the benefits should be that come out of it?
Yeah, so we have 50 acres of regenerative farming just up the road from us in Winscombe, and that's about improving soil health. and we're going through the 5 pillars of regenerative farming at the moment. We bought the land 3 years ago, and we will only plant trees next year. So it's had sheep on it. We've planted lots of different grasses. We've put nitrogen fixing plants on there. And for us, it's about making sure we get the soil health perfect, because if you don't have healthy soil, you don't get healthy trees, which means you don't get good apples, which means you don't make good cider. So it's all interlinked to the soil. And if you took the soil 3 years ago, it was, there were no worms, it was devoid of any life really. And if you go up there now and look at it, it's got worms in it and it's looking really healthy. So for us, that's been a really great project, and I think this is something that we've always kind of been aware of. It's just got a name now. I think as farmers, we've always known we need to protect our land, and we've always done slightly different things with our orchards. So obviously we don't plough them. The ground's covered most of the time, which is one of the pillars of regenerative farming. So that's really great, and we'll plant some more trees there next year, plant some more varieties there. So it kind of spans our whole ethos around protecting what we have for future generations. And it's a really exciting project, but it's not the beginning for us. I think we've been doing things like this for a long time. So we've got one orchard of 458 different varieties in it, and that was taken from the Long Ashton Research Station. They were literally going to chop the trees down and get rid of them. We said, no, hang on a minute, you can't get rid of all the core varieties of the cider industry. So we went up there, rescued them, and then planted them at our farm. And so for us, that also provides a massive bank of trial opportunities. So we'll go in there. I was in there on Monday actually, and you go in there and you can just taste a couple of apples and you go, oh, that was quite interesting. Maybe we should scale that up and make some more cider. So we'll pick a variety, and then we'll plant 100 trees of that variety. And then that enables us to make a bigger fermentation. And then if we like that, we can then scale up into a full scale trial, because there's so many different factors that affect apple trees. And when you're planting a tree, that's 25 years of commitment with that tree. So everything has got to be right, and hence why we do this scale up process. So yeah, that's a really exciting.
Your experiments are really long,
yeah,
aren't they?
Yeah. Some are really long, and then we're thinking long term. We're a family business, so we're always thinking like 2-3 generations ahead. What should we be doing? Hence that sustainability piece, and we use 100% renewable electricity. We've got 3,500 solar panels. We've just put in CO2 recovery as well, which is really exciting. That collects the CO2 off our fermentations and then puts it back into the cans, kegs and bottles. Oh. So I think that's a really great example of just closing the loop on waste, and really for us that was about doing the right thing, and a lot of our decisions in a business is about doing the right thing, not short-term gain, and I think sometimes that's not always seen in other businesses, but for us it's super important.
Yeah, you really kind of put in perspective the sort of business timescales that you think of there, because you get PLCs who are thinking about their next quarter numbers, and that's their timescale is like, it's only 3 months long. Us as a business here, we're sort of, I like to say we're family run because we're husband and wife run, but we're not really a family business because it's only first generation. And we kind of think maybe like 5 years ahead, but you say you're thinking 2 or 3 generations ahead. It's massive. And when you're planting trees with a 25-year commitment, we hire people with an expectation of commitment of maybe 5 or 10 years. It's still like really different scales that you're talking about. It's very interesting how the business must just have that totally different way of thinking when it's making decisions. It's like, actually, this is something that might affect us 30 years down the line, and we're going to make the right decision for that. There's not a lot of businesses that will do that, I don't think.
No, I think it is quite different, but that's like you say, that's probably what makes our culture unique and why maybe we've been successful. But yeah, it's also in kind of a bit in the nature of farming. You always have that kind of cycle of land, and you're thinking, oh, right, what are we going to do? So yeah,
no, it's really commendable. And the regen project you were talking about was taking fresh land and converting it into orchards.
Yeah.
What do you do about the existing land to keep it healthy?
Yeah, so we've done lots of different things there with planting wildflowers. What we've discovered is that bumblebees are a lot better pollinators than your standard honeybee, although we have honeybees in our orchard as well. So if we plant the wildflowers, we get more bumblebees, which enables better pollination in the orchard. Also, it's the right thing to do to encourage wildlife. And really, our orchards are a haven for wildlife. You see hares, rabbits, woodpeckers, deer in our orchards. So it really is a haven, although when we plant around April, we'll put the tree in the ground and we'll have to guard it straight away. We can't even leave the guard off for a night, otherwise the rabbits and deers will come and nibble the bark and kill the tree. So they are beautiful, but you need guards.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, on the one hand, it sounds really idyllic. On the other hand, it also sounds a little bit chaotic. And you've got a lot to manage.
Yeah. I think I love planting time. It's just amazing to see new trees going in the ground. And for us, 10% of our farm is also on trial. So, we're doing more trials than the whole rest of the cider industry put together.
Wow.
So we're very committed to that, and hence why we're doing a lot of planting, and we're growing, so we're planting. So it's quite exciting.
And how long is it after you plant that you get apples?
2 to 3 years, depending on variety, and the crop kind of varies from there. So yeah.
So that's your kind of experiment duration.
Yeah.
Of the time.
Well,
about 3 years long.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's as long as in software we'd think about like 2-week experiments.
Very different time scales.
Yeah, it's pretty different time scale.
Yeah. You have to be patient on some things in our business, and some things move quickly.
No, and that must be a challenge in itself. Is that because you want to make things happen, and there's got to be a drive to kind of get things changing quickly.
Yeah.
Like particularly in the technology space, for example. But on the other hand, you need to, in some areas, just be really slow and patient and think about things.
And make the right decision. And I think getting that balance right is important. And particularly with my IT hat on, that we have to keep driving that change, because everyone around us is changing so quickly. AI, I know it's a massive buzzword, but I think the technology side behind it is really driving forward very quickly. And I think if you can implement that and really get on board with that, and get your people on board with it as well, because we've started using Copilot a bit, but there was a bit of kind of, what's this then? Am I going to be out of a job? But actually it's really not about that. It's about how you can enable your people to do the more valuable tasks and actually take away some of the stuff that is kind of
at the end of the day, technology is always a tool, is the way I think of it, and those tools are evolving. But that rate of change is just increasing all the time and getting faster. But I think some of the stuff you've been talking about is a really nice reminder that the core of most businesses is not the IT and the technology and what it's doing. The core is the stuff that you're producing, which is very tangible in your case. And the tech's just a way of making that better, more efficient, doing a better job at it.
I think, and also, you've got to have kind of an open mind to that, because it's easy to go, well, we've always done it this way. But actually, is that
especially in such a long-standing traditional business? I imagine it's very easy to get caught in that if you're not aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're trialing lots of different things, but I'm also aware it's quite a big buzzword, so treat it with caution and respect, but you have to get on board with it.
Yeah, I think the AI the AI hype curve is definitely declining. I think we're past peak hype now.
Yeah.
People are just trying to work out actually how to use it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there are loads of applications.
Yeah. What's your view on how people are using it well?
So I think the latest sort of couple of years wave of generative AI stuff, it's all around text. So anywhere that things are happening with text a lot, I think there's a lot of scope for revolution and doing things better. So particularly where people have got large bodies of text that they need to kind of get information out of, or they're producing quite a lot of text in reports or updates or whatever it is, or that sort of thing. Those are the areas that are actually seeing quite a lot of effect and have a lot of real world use of the latest kind of Gen AI stuff. But the what we call GoFi, good old fashioned AI, is more around the machine learning stuff, and that's slower moving, but it has been evolving, faster. But it's sort of been bumbling away in the background, and that's affecting a lot of businesses that are very data centric in really positive ways. But it's not revolutionary, like it hasn't suddenly changed in the last 2 years. It's just gradually been getting more powerful and better. So you can do more with the data that you've got. So you can gain more insights into experiments and potential improvements and things that can go better. You can mine that data and get more out of it more easily. And it's kind of speeding up some of the processes in that area. So yeah, I think it's all moving along, but different use cases are moving at very different paces. And the ones that are really text-based or language-based are moving particularly fast at the moment. Yeah. So the last topic I wanted to discuss with you was around people. So we touched on people, and you're Thatchers is a real investor in people, and you've got a really strong apprenticeship program. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that and sort of why you do it and how it's working out?
Yeah, so we started our apprenticeship program probably 7 years ago now. And a really great fact that I love is 20% of our workforce have either been an apprentice or are an apprentice. And I think the industry standard is something like 5%. So we're really kind of ahead in this area. And it started because what we realised is that we had a lot of great people in our business and they'd grown with us. We wanted to bring more young people in and kind of train them from the ground up and take them all the way through. So we highlighted that as a bit of a gap, and we realised that actually the apprenticeship programme was the way to do this, because you can get your on-the-job training as well as going to college and learning the kind of knowledge that you need. So for us, it was about knowledge, skills, and critically behaviour. And what we look for in our apprentices is really the right behaviour, particularly when we're interviewing them. We're not so worried about their kind of qualifications, what they've done. It's about, have you got the right attitude and behaviour to work here? So we run 2 sides in terms of our apprenticeship. So we've got our Cider Academy or our Brand Academy. So cider is all about engineering, working on packaging lines, blending, fermentation. And then we've got our brand, which is marketing, sales, customer service, finance. We also do one for the orchards actually as well, and IT. So it really does touch every area of our business. And this year I've just taken someone on as a developer for an apprenticeship, which is going really well. And to see how these people kind of change through their apprenticeship is amazing. So we've got Izzy, she started in customer service and she did really well. We then promoted her to work in supply chain and do stock control, and now she manages our automated warehouse, and she's only 22.
Oh, brilliant.
So the opportunities and the things they learn on the apprenticeship has been amazing, and I'd really kind of encourage anyone that's thinking about doing it to do it. You do need to make sure you have a good recruitment process though, because you need to make sure you found the right person. So for us, we go through quite a long recruitment process to find the right people, and we actually go into schools and talk to them about the process and try and find good people. So I'd say if you're going to do it, just spend that time at the beginning.
Big investment.
If you find the right people, it really works really well. And so that's kind of our first part in terms of our training and people. And then we realised we had other gaps after that. We're going, oh, this is great, this is really working, people are coming through, they're moving through the business, they're filling gaps. And we realised actually we needed to do some more training at a higher levels. So then we started our management development programme, and that's all for senior managers in the business. And that's about training them in areas that aren't their core area. So we did a programme across 18 months across everything. So we did marketing, we did project management, we did sales, we did presentation skills, we did finance. And that gave everyone a really broad view.
Sounds like your specialist topic with your history of kind of moving all around the business.
Yeah. And that's been great. And we've got people in from the University of Bristol and Bath to help us lecture, do that course. So we found that's really great as well. But it's all really about your people and training them, and for us getting them to step back and think bigger picture about stuff. As we grow, we're gonna need that more.
Yeah, and has the apprenticeship program improved your diversity as well in terms of kind of the talent pools that you access? And because one thing we find as an organisation is we recruit from red brick universities quite a lot, and you end up with a certain kind of thinker person that kind of comes out of that. And one of the appeals of apprenticeships to us is to broaden that mindset and kind of tap into different people that you wouldn't necessarily attract or speak to in other ways. Are you finding some of those benefits?
Yeah, definitely. I think university will always have its place for certain things. You don't really want a doctor that hasn't been to university. But for us, particularly as a cider industry, you can't learn a lot of what we do at university. And therefore we found actually bringing people in straight from school has been amazing. They're really open, they want to learn, they are open-minded to things. So
yeah, and they still can access all that higher education training as well.
Yeah. We're very keen on training. We always have been. We try and do as much as we can, and I think as well we've also done some kind of mentoring. So people having a mentor, and that as well has been really great to kind of bring people along, particularly, well, in all areas of our business. Our apprentices get a mentor, so to make sure they're on track. So doing an apprenticeship is an investment. You kind of have to understand that it's not going to be the same as an employee that you get that's fully trained. It's not the same. But And also they've got, they're multi-skilled because we make them work in different areas of the business. So if we find that, we've got a gap over there, they can move. And you don't always get that if you just employ a person to do a certain role. They don't want to move. They don't have the skills to move to different departments. So yeah, it's worked really well.
Yeah, great. I mean, it always comes back to the success of a business is the people and how they work together and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think it kind of rings true to everyone in any business that the importance of that investment.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining me. It's been a brilliant conversation. It's been great to have you on.
No, thank you very much. It's been good to have a chat.
Thanks a lot. And I hope to see more going on at the farm soon.
Yeah.